A 3 and a 2 and a 1. Hello and welcome to episode 166 of the Naked Tech Podcast. It's a show that gives you everything you need to know about consumer tech, the internet, and all things looking for the mutants. I'm your friend Jeff Kim.
My name is Calvin Lee, and happy Chinese New Year, everybody.
Gong Hai Fat Choi.
Gong Hai Fat
Gong Hai Fat Choi. Yes, many happy returns. Year of the Ox.
It is the year of the
Year of the
ox.
Cow.
Yeah, get your cows out. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I got my my red,
Yes.
lucky red microphone there.
And your hat. I like it. See
Oh,
what
hey,
you're going
good
for
theme.
there.
Happy accident. Yes, we won't talk about the Super Bowl because it was the most boring game ever in history of the Super Bowls.
Like, you're obviously the gridiron fan here. But I guess I'm going to ask the important question. How was the halftime show?
Actually, that was a highlight. I thought it was one of the better ones. I still can't go past Katy Perry's left shark dance.
Of course.
But I thought the Weeknd did pretty well. You know, he pitched in a bit of money himself. It's probably the biggest ad for himself he can make, right? I don't know, like if he's putting out a video, massive set with mirrored things, mirrored maze, was it? Did you see any of it?
No, I didn't see any of it.
You didn't watch any of it? There was some bit of TikTok music action, you know, everything was there.
Wow. I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah. Today's going to be an interesting show. I've got one big story. You have a few things. There you go. There's the Weeknd on the screen there.
Yeah.
Should we go straight into it, Kelvin?
Let's do it.
Let's go. And we're going to kick it off with Clubhouse. What is Clubhouse? So it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded, and in that time, believe it or not, a hot new thing has sort of come up in the scene. I mean, it's been around actually since probably around March last year, but it's been on the news, even mainstream news.
Oh, definitely.
Would you say?
It's on the Guardian.
Definitely. Okay. So I'm gonna give it a go in terms of trying to explain what it is. Right now it's iOS only, and Kelvin, you can't really, you haven't experienced that is Clubhouse yet.
You cover off what the app does and what it is, and I'll start my rant after.
Wow. Okay, starting off with a rant. Okay, so it is I think the headline or the strap line of the app is an audio social network. Now, the term social network comes with a bit of baggage in 2021. And audio is like, well, a lot of people just sort of think, is it like Discord, or is it just like a conference meeting type thing? And in a way, yes, all those things are correct. But there are just the mechanics of just audio, and you can't type, you can't video, makes it, I think, interesting. So that's what it is. These guys, I think they're former psychology students in neuroscience. I think they have some links to Twitter, which I'll cover off in a second. But yeah, it's kind of garnered a lot of attention just on the back of Elon Musk and Zuckerberg jumping in on a what you call a club. I think probably this time last week, around Sunday last week. Yeah, and I can't quite remember how I heard about it or what made me sign up, but yeah, I tried it out, and a few hours later, because it is an invite-only service, I'm not gonna say a random friend, but Joe, shout out to Joe. She did, put me up. So like as a user, if you're already in the Clubhouse, you can send invites out according to your social profile or basically your contact list. But if you do try to sign up without that invite, then a friend of yours who's already on there might be able to say, hey, you're a cool dude, I'll let you in, sort of thing.
Is there a
So there's two ways to do it.
To the size of each room?
5,000 is the current cap. and I've been well, I've had notifications on a couple of rooms where yeah they've already been full. So the big news this week was that Elon's gonna be interviewing Kanye West possibly tomorrow. So
Okay.
you have to be really quick to get onto that room.
Yep.
Now, what's been happening is that it's exactly like a conference situation where say you're in a convention center. So you can probably picture the ICC, Kelvin, how
Hmm.
that is set up. There's like a long hallway with lots of different rooms along the hallway, right? So there's one big hall. There's some breakout areas or breakout rooms, a bit smaller. So think of that. So when you log into Clubhouse, you're kind of in the hallway of that conference center, and you can see signs for the topics, which are basically the rooms. And yeah, like if you want to go into a room at the moment, the capacity is 5,000 people.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Now, this is iOS only.
Hmm.
And obviously a lot of people have asked the founders of Clubhouse in terms of, hey, like why? What are you doing? And so it is really about infrastructure. I think it's costly to host something like this. I don't believe they are using advertising to raise any funds on the app. Not that I could find. 9 to 5 Google.com has a view that because it's all audio, the microphones on your Apple devices are obviously going to be very dependable, they're very predictable. Whereas, if you throw in cheap Android phones that are available out there that use cheaper hardware, it might not be as, I don't know, as great
Mm.
as, the microphones that come with
Well, similar
the
to that
Apple iPhone.
Instagram,
Yeah.
thing that happened a few years ago, right? It was iOS only for a long time, and all the Apple fanboys were complaining as soon as Android was introduced, like, well, what's with the quality of these photos?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I lean on infrastructure. I think, once you throw in
Hmm.
Android, you're throwing in, a couple of million users overnight, especially with all the hype that
Hmm.
it's created with Elon trying to interview Kanye, which is going to be insane. But I feel like that is something, I think the lower quality audio isn't a good excuse. I think you would let that sort of happen anyway. And, people will follow people with great audio quality. And if they don't have great audio quality, they will naturally fall off Clubhouse. Um,
Yeah.
So I hope they're doing it because of infrastructure and not so much because of quality control. But it's a good. That's just one of the downsides of being an Android user. You don't get Instagram first. You don't get Snapchat first. You don't get Path first. I remember Path.
Oh, Path.
Oh, Path.
Bought by Kakao Talk. Well, I think that's interesting because I actually think it's more around the generating the buzz, and now Android people are sort of like, I mean, there's half of the Android users will be like, well, okay, stuff that, like they're not really thinking about the Android side of things, but I think the other half would be like, please let us in soon,
Mm.
that type of. So I think it's probably split in that way, but it's a way to generate buzz, and I did listen to a podcast where yeah they thought actually it was probably on Clubhouse actually because I've been listening almost nonstop for the last week on Clubhouse where they pretty much know for a fact that the founders are doing this just to kind of like it's strategy. It's a strategy. So,
Yeah, and I
there's
think
there's
I
the
think it's
invite
a good
only
strategy.
service, but locking it to one operating system is another way to do that.
So talk me through the listening experience of Clubhouse because obviously I don't have access to it. I could get it on my iPad actually. So if you drop me an invite, I'll check it out.
Mm.
The Do you can you listen to past sessions? Is it like
No,
a
it's all
pod?
live.
Right. So
It's all
there's
live.
no on demand at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you try to record, so on an iPhone, you have an option to screen record, but also you can capture audio. So as soon as you do that, you get this big red message saying, if you do reshare, like they don't stop you from recording it, but if you do share it, then it's big penalties, like they'll take you off the app. Now, the show that Elon was on last week, it's on a show called Good Time. So I think it's a daily show, hosted by Sriram someone or other, but he's part of the whole Andrew Sane Horowitz, the cabal.
Mm.
They've worked with Facebook and Twitter and all those guys. And I believe his wife and her name escapes me, but like they kind of like set up the room, and I guess they were one of the early adopters of Clubhouse, many months ago, and it's this show has just kind of grown, right? And so yeah, some they have contacts in the industry, so they got Elon, and I think maybe an hour into that, Zuckerberg sort of jumped in. Now, I guess I have to be careful because I wanted to play a clip from that.
Mm.
Now this I took this recording from a site called because the host of the show reshared this on Twitter, so I'm assuming this is okay. What do you
The
what do you think?
host of the show. Yeah, I think well, you as long as we name the source, I think we're good.
Yeah. Okay. So I will link the actual the source of this. It's like a 11-minute. Obviously, I won't play the whole thing here. This is a shorter clip, but this was just to give you a flavor, you yourself, Kelvin, and everyone else listening, who hasn't been invited to Clubhouse, on what that experience is like, and maybe the sound quality as well.
All right, spill the beans, man. What happened last week? Why'd you stop people? Why couldn't people buy the GameStop share?
Sorry, I forgot to set this up. He's actually asking Vlad Tenev, the CEO or the founder of crap, Robinhood,
Yes, yes.
which is topical from last week. So here he goes again.
All right, spill the beans, man. What happened last week? Why'd you stop people? Why couldn't people buy the GameStop shares? The people demand an answer, and they want to know the details and the truth.
So basically Wednesday of last week, we just had unprecedented volume, unprecedented load on the system. A lot of these meme stocks were going viral on social media, and people were joining Robinhood, and there was a lot of net buy activity on them, as you guys all know. And Robinhood at this time, I think, was #1 on the iOS App Store.
Yeah, obviously, Vlad goes on to talk about that experience that he had, the crazy, 24 hours and, the preceding days after the whole thing happened. But I guess what I'm trying to show there is the sort of intimacy. It is like you're eavesdropping on a phone call,
Yeah.
right?
Just based on that clip, I don't see it replacing podcasts in any way. I think I think the challengers are obviously YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and you and I chatted about this during the week. Is Twitter as well. These bite-sized audio bites suit Twitter, right? And it's quite funny. I'm reading an XDA article now. The reason why Clubhouse had to come up with a blog post on where they are with their Android app implementation is because they wanted to respond to Twitter having an alternative called Spaces.
Mm. Yes, which I experienced this morning. I think I
Mm.
sent you a screenshot this morning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the people that are interestingly, the people that are active on Clubhouse are also sort of the early adopters of Twitter as well. So they're sort of like treating this as a new toy. It's, new mechanics, has a somewhat interesting way of sort of trying to get into that thought leadership area. So I mean, like I haven't mentioned it yet, but like I liken this to a lot of and there goes my cat. Um, that there's a lot of LinkedIn like people trying to get into this space. Felicia's tail is just like blocking the camera there. Yeah, and the other thing was like because of the way it works, and it doesn't rely on the reciprocal followship. I suppose kind of like Twitter, but it feels more like Google Plus circles to
Mm.
me. Um, and because so there's you can follow people, but you can also follow topics that are set up by different people. So it's a very, very interesting way to discover certain areas, and
Yeah, I
topics
got
that
a
you can
feeling though,
follow.
you got to be super popular for this to really work out for you. I mean, it's going to cause an even bigger divide between who's already popular on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and podcasting and the likes of us, right? I mean, we're like off Broadway. So it's going to cause an even bigger divide, because if you don't have the people live at that single point in time, or have a newsletter to go out, or some sort of notification from the content creator that I've got a show coming in 5 minutes, I want to tell you all about this thing I did just 5 minutes ago, you're not going to get any traction, because there is no on demand. There is no there is no I'll watch it later. So I think this is going to cause a bigger divide between those who are already really popular and the likes of us.
I do have a counterpoint though. I think that's a valid thing to say, but I've been finding that like initially when you try to look for people, it's like the names that you recognize, right? So obviously there are some celebrities, there's some NBA players, former NBA players, but they're not as active. So as you start following topics and you just sort of jump into rooms randomly, not randomly, you sort of go by the topic names, and that's one of the key things. Twitter Spaces don't have topic names just yet. And you just sort of listen in and, okay, like this, I like the way this guy or this lady is talking about something. I check their profile. The profile seems interesting. So I start following them. And maybe the next day when I see them in a room and, participating, then I might sort of be validated by that. So like at least in the early days, like for maybe the next few months, I mean, I haven't really talked in a room yet. But I'm just sort of I don't know, maybe waiting for the right moment. I'm actually like waiting for for example, yourself and some of our other friends to join, to maybe start a room and see what we can do. I don't know. But I think that is probably less of a thing, I would say, just because it's not full of celebrities and well-known people just for now. Things may change
And why
after
is the
this weekend.
quality so rubbish? Is it because people aren't using microphones or their AirPods? Are they just talking using the speakerphone? What?
So that example was particularly bad. I agree. I was talking to okay, shout out to Miguel, because you're probably listening to this. This is engineer Miguel, not probably the other one that you know, Calvin, but although he may be listening too. But I was showing him Clubhouse. Was it? It must have been yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And just earlier, I was talking to him on Teams, and then I had to show him Clubhouse, but the quality sounded so much better through Clubhouse. But we're using the same devices, so I think there is some heavy duty engineering
some sort
behind
of
the
compression
scenes.
that's happening.
That's probably good. Yeah, it's probably a good segue though, because the engine, I suppose, that is driving this technology is kind of surprising. And I've got a clip from Adam Curry from yesterday's show. I don't know if you
No.
heard this one yet, Calvin, talking about where that's coming from.
But here's what's interesting. The technology behind Clubhouse is owned by Agora. Agora is a Chinese company. A Chinese company is hosting these chats, and you're just giving them everything, including your address book, because you can't invite anybody unless you give them access to your address book. This is Chinese spying on your conversations, you idiots.
Okay,
well, a bit of
I won't go so far, but it is true. It is
like
a
a
Chinese
bit of
company.
context here as well. Like Adam Curry, obviously is considered the father of podcasting, and he runs a great show that I love called the No Agenda podcast. That I think everyone should listen to. It gives you a different view on the world of politics, technology, etc., but a very extreme view on things. And they're not, I wouldn't call it conspiracy theorists, but they do definitely dabble in that. Yeah, I mean, like, what isn't going to come from China at some point? I mean, you and I covered in the last episode about how they're coming up with a new way of communicating using quantum physics, etc., quantum computing. So it's going to become more and more commonplace. Like I'm sure there are nefarious actors, in China, just like any other country. I don't think that's a big deal. If they've got the technology.
Just on Agora though, since that sort of news broke, they've tripled in
Of course they
stock
have.
value since the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm not. Do you
No.
know about them that much? They're based in Shanghai. Not sure what else they sort of dabble into, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Like the tech behind it. So many rooms at any given time. So up to 5,000 people in a room. Sort of managing all of that. Like I just feel like my brain kind of explodes just thinking about that engineering side of things. But yeah. I guess that's Clubhouse. I think hit me up if you want an invite. I'm sort of like being very careful because initially you only get 2
Oh,
invites.
have you?
But as you use it more, and they did give me a few more saying that, hey, we noticed that Australia is getting traction. Here's a few more invites. So that happened a couple of days ago. But yeah, it's the other thing about that is they're very strict on. Well, they tell you that please be careful because they can just snub you out if you're not careful. In that, if you invite a friend that is kind of rubbish or just ends up trolling rooms and stuff like that,
Well, then
they'll get banished, but also the person who invited them will also get banished. So yeah, they're very strong on
promise I
that
won't let you
message.
down, Jeffrey. Can we? I
Better not.
think that's really interesting. Can we do a quick pivot to Twitter? I think this is worth talking about quickly. I didn't know this, and as I was clicking around looking at their version of Clubhouse, they've also got something coming called Fleets, which is their version of Instagram Stories. Yeah, I
It's already
know,
there. What do you
but
mean?
have you? I haven't. I scroll Twitter just like old school Twitter. Have you tried using Fleets? Like, do you see a lot of it? Are a lot of people using it?
Well, the first week, like if I use a Twitter app, you see those circles, like story circles at the top of the stream, and that was
Yeah,
like full, just like Instagram. Nowadays, you hardly
yeah,
see anything.
thought so.
So even the brands aren't really using it. There were those memes like when this sort of came out about a month ago. I saw one where Excel had its stories.
That's
Microsoft
hilarious.
Excel. Yeah. Email and things like that. But yeah, Fleets, I mean, they've kind of connected the Twitter Spaces with Fleets. So that area, so that screenshot that I sent you, Kelvin, that was the Fleets area. But then you saw, a few fleets or circles grouped together, and that was the Spaces. So that's why I tapped on that just to say, hey, this is different. And it was the same guy that I've been listening to on Clubhouse was actually running
Okay.
that space. So it was kind of
So
meta in that way.
whenever whether it's a Clubhouse room or a space that goes live, how do you get notified? Is it your typical notification that this user is now live?
I guess there's no notification, but because it's at the top of the screen, you're always going to see what's
Okay.
there. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
we might be in Clubhouse. We'll see. But watch the space. I think, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's go into a couple of bite-sized stories to talk about what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. I think the most interesting one is Facebook, and they want to make a watch. So I've got a longish clip from CNBC, but I think it just gives you the context and explains where Facebook is coming from.
Facebook's reportedly working on a smartwatch that it hopes to start selling it next year. This is according to the information, which cites sources. Now, this watch reportedly would work with a cellular connection. It could connect with fitness apps such as Peloton's, and it would run on an open source version of Google's Android software, though Facebook is also reportedly working to build its own operating system for future hardware. Facebook, of course, moved into hardware with its Oculus VR headsets and its Portal home devices. With the smartwatch, there could be privacy pushback, but it does give more insight into Facebook saying that Apple is its biggest competitor, something it put out there in its battle over Apple's operating system change. That's coming up, guys. Back over to you.
Yeah, I think Facebook has had a horde sort of history in terms of trying to build a phone. I think, that HTC partnership they had was pretty bad, like almost 10 years ago, I would think. I think there's no doubt that the Apple Watch is playing a bigger part in why people buy the Apple iPhone. I think it is undoubtedly the king of watches. I think Google's trying to catch up, but there hasn't been a new Watch OS. Well, what was it called again? I don't even know what the Google OS for watches is called. The Wear OS.
What was your prediction?
A
Was it
Wear
not?
OS watch hasn't been out, for the
Yeah,
longest
that's it.
time. And this is really quite interesting. If you listen carefully to that CNBC report, Facebook is not using Wear OS. It sounds like they're using Android to build a OS just for a watch, which I think is quite smart because everyone knows that Wear OS isn't great at all. I think Google bought Fitbit in order to try and fix that a little bit, but they still haven't really pushed out their new watch, which is also rumored that we spoke about. What do you think? I think this is Facebook trying to get more data on a subset of people and a subset of data that they don't actually have. They don't have heart rate, they don't have steps, they don't have GPS. And if they can actually build a 5G or 4G watch that is easy on the battery, that does, the things that people want to do on watches, good AI, good voice integration, good keyboard, good typing, will it work?
I'm not sure whether it would work just because Apple has such a stronghold in that market. But I think it's interesting how, you hear about Facebook, the brand, getting into stuff like this, and the first thing you think about is data privacy. Whereas, like for Apple, I suppose, the narrative is that, it's going to help with your health and, it's about fitness, but sure, like the byproduct of that is there's some privacy issues there. Whereas like someone like Facebook, it would be no, it's they're trying to get more data. Therefore they're building a watch. Like that seems to be the theme for Facebook, which I don't know if it's entirely true. I suppose like the long play for Facebook is about devices, right? Is the theory that if their biggest competitor is Apple, will they join forces with Google, especially in light of some of the stuff that Apple is doing right now? So maybe your prediction of a Pixel Watch, maybe Facebook will build that. How about that,
Yeah,
Kelvin?
and I like where you're going with this. I don't think we should see Facebook as a social network, anymore, just a social network anymore. They're a space company, they're an internet company, they are a hardware company with the purchase,
Facebook.
and Oculus. I think Oculus will teach them a lot about the hardware side of things, manufacturing that, and Oculus already has Snapdragon chips in them, and obviously Qualcomm does a lot of watch chips as well. So they've got some experience now with making hardware and relationships. So I think the more competition there is in watches, the better the Apple, side of things will get, as well as the Google side of things. Which is where I want to see the tablet space as well. I think Samsung is doing a lot of good things to make sure that the iPad isn't just the only tablet you can buy, because that would be a very bad thing.
Yeah, Facebook is also working on a Clubhouse feature as well, by the way. That's coming out this week. Of course they are.
The way that everyone's killed Snapchat is, I think I'll see Clubhouse. They would have to innovate fairly quickly to keep up with all these big behemoths that are,
Well, they'll have to let Android users in. I think that's probably the first thing they need to do.
Or build their own phone and watch.
Yeah.
Talking about Google, on this show, we've been talking a lot about the news media bargaining code, a lot that's happening now in Australia. To give you a quick sort of, backgrounder, there is a law that's currently being drafted to sort of force Google and Facebook and everyone else to pay the news publishers an amount of money, on the links that they share. So there's been obviously, Microsoft's been quite quiet, but they've been on the news recently, just talking about how, hey, if Google goes and leaves the country, Bing is here to save the day. So let's hear what Reuters has to say.
Both Facebook and Google have called the laws unreasonable. And last month, they threatened to pull key services from Australia if the regulations went ahead. Google said they would withdraw their search engine, which, according to industry data, accounts for 94% of the country's search market. Bing is a distant number 2 in the market. Microsoft told Reuters that its CEO, Satya Nadella, has since spoken with Prime Minister Scott Morrison. And on Monday, Morrison said Microsoft was ready to step in with Bing, with respect for the new rules.
What's important to Australia, I think, is that we set the rules that are right for our people. And having a news environment in this country that is one that is sustainable and is supported commercially, then this is vital to how democracies function.
It's Scott Morrison from his
he
kitchen.
was having lunch. You know what's really funny about that clip? Scott Morrison speaks with so many pauses. I had to cut out easily like 15 gaps there of like half a second just to make that clip listen, like it was horrible to even listen over and over again. It's just so hard to do politicians and do those kind of cuttings. But yeah, I think because Bing has such a small market share in Australia, it is to their benefit that they say, hey, you know what? If my biggest number one competitor is going to leave the market, then I will do what it takes to take over. I'll pay whatever payment you want me to pay, and yeah, we'd be happy to take over. I think that's fair.
So I'm just trying to read the article that you clipped. So Nadella did say that, did he? Like, as in, we will pay the
I
publishers.
don't think they said that explicitly, but I think they're definitely supporting the code.
Right. Playing politics indeed. I just find it hilarious, Kelvin, that, bargaining code is not really about the brands that, that make this code, right? So, like, to politicians and, probably most Australians, Google is the only search engine that's available. Like, Bing doesn't even come into the picture at all. It's like, who uses Bing? I just find that hilarious.
And I'm surprised it's only 94%. And I hear of stories about DuckDuckGo doing really well because of all the privacy concerns. And in my mind, that's all very American, and that's very European. I'm surprised it's 94%. I thought it was like 98.
And I mean, I hear the talk of Google pulling out of Australia. Like, what does that actually mean? Like, has that sort of come out?
From everything I've heard, it's basically just google.com.au. You can still use Google Drive. You can still use YouTube, obviously, and everything else. It's just the search engine will go.
What does it mean going, though? Like, as in google.com.au is not there, but google.com will be.
I actually don't know. I think if they find out that your IP is from Australia, they'll just say google.com is not available.
Oh, so you can't use Google search at all.
They'll just IP block us. And you'll see Bing try to take over and things like that. I think people don't know what they're asking for until they don't have it. So we'll see. I think we'll watch the space. A part of me just wants to see it happen, just to see how people react.
I actually do. Yeah, I agree with that.
I just like the I dare you.
It's like, oh, is that how the internet
I love the
works?
whole dare thing. I don't think people know what Google is. I think people go like, I double click the E, I get a search engine. What are you telling me? This is rubbish now? Yeah, I think people underestimate the amount of engineering and the effort it goes into building an experience like Google search. And there's a reason why they are number one, is because the other search engines aren't as good. Simple as. So, we'll see.
I did go to a trivia earlier in the week, Kelvin, and the trivia was titled Ask Jeeves. So I don't know if that's still
Jeeves making a comeback. I would love that. Alta Vista.
That guy, he can talk, so he can probably be a search engine by himself. All right, we got another story on
Yeah, so
Apple?
this is really interesting. Before I play the clip and give people a bit of context, have you downloaded any Apple AR apps? Have you had any experience with that?
Like from
Mm.
Apple especially, or
I just
not
yeah.
from Apple, but
Pl-
yeah, I've used like the Google search app where if you search for an animal, it can give you an AR version of
Mm.
that as well,
I
something like that.
I think
Yeah.
there's a reason why Apple is going in so hard with AR, but let's hold off that conversation for a bit. The news is that Apple TV Plus has launched their first sort of mixed reality app, and it's for their TV show on Apple TV called For All Mankind. I think season 2 is coming out. Have you watched For All Mankind yet? Yeah,
I
I think it's
have
a space
not.
sort of drama series. Play the clip and then we'll talk about it.
An interesting move. Apple has launched its first ever standalone Apple TV Plus AR app with a For All Mankind backstory and exclusive content for that show for users that have the latest iPad Pro and iPhone 12 Pro models, quoting 9to5Mac.
And for all our podcast listeners, it's a bit hard to explain without showing a video that I'm going to play here for Twitch. So I'm going to try and talk through it. So you download this app, you play it. Let's say you're on your table, and all these interesting tapes and letters about the show come out. You can sort of get deeper into the story if you're watching this TV series. A little sort of Apple II comes up here. It's kind of cute that you can see photos, you can see maps, all in front of you, looking through this app. And I think it's a really interesting storytelling device and method if you're a big fan. Like I could see this happening for Star Wars or WandaVision and things like that, just to give you that backgrounder. You can point it around in your house and things change. It's kind of cool, I guess, but a bit gimmicky.
I guess, yeah. I've been thinking about the AR aspect in terms of TV viewing as well, just randomly. So this is interesting. Like, I guess something like, I don't know, what was a big thing? Game of Thrones got the problem with that for a lot of people is that there's so many characters and backstories and things like that. So having something like this to help you with just following the show, maybe it could be a good thing. But yeah, I like it. And anything like this that pushes, and it looks quite I don't know,
No,
polished.
I
This is
think
the
they
word.
want to
Yeah.
set the standard for what these experiences would look like. And what I want to see is when I'm watching the TV show, I want my phone to follow me as I'm watching the episode and give me more information. And if they can do it via AR,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if I'm watching WandaVision, there's so many things happening. But if I can just pause the TV show and go to my phone and it goes like, hey, Kelvin, you want to learn more about Quicksilver? Here's a quick 30-second comic book history of Quicksilver. Things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Just be careful about spoilers there, Kelvin, because I haven't seen episode 6 yet. What if actually the thing I was thinking about was because now we're so used to QR codes and just scanning things from stationary objects, including a TV, perhaps. What if, like in a Black Mirror or what's that other one, the choose your own adventure game Netflix show,
Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch, in that sort of manner? What if the AR experience is actually part of the show as you're watching the show?
Ooh, creepy. I don't.
Wouldn't that be rather than just a companion
Yeah.
piece that
And
these things are? What if it's
what
actually
if I had
part of the show?
goggles to do that rather than holding up my phone? I think that's where they're going with this, right? I think this is step one
Yeah, okay.
into
Right.
Google's Apple's glasses. So I'm watching my screen and things happen around me. Yeah, go for it. I can't wait.
Mhm.
I'm looking for immersive, viewing experiences, and I think this will be it.
Speaking of immersive experiences, okay, not really. I've got possibly one final clip. Actually, 2 clips, but here's the first one. This is we're gonna talk about Elon Musk again. He tweeted a thing
Of
this
course he
week.
did.
Did you hear about this? It's about Dogecoin.
Oh boy.
So we're gonna go there. We're gonna go into crypto. This is I found this on TMZ. And I mean, I don't know if the video is
Mm.
there if you want to pull it up, but the video kind of looks like it's one of these fake what do you call it?
Deepfakes.
Yeah, it does kind of look like a deep fake, but it must be real. I'm not sure, but this is what a reporter asked him about Dogecoin, and this is what he said.
The point is that Dogecoin was invented as a joke, as essentially to make fun of cryptocurrency, and that's why I think there's like an argument like fate loves irony. Like the most entertaining outcome is what would be the most ironic outcome? That the currency that was invented as a joke, in fact, becomes the real currency.
Right? Wow. No, absolutely. So, to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon, baby.
God. Really?
He did tweet that. I don't know. Like Elon has. Well, it's not news, but he is the biggest troll on the internet right now.
Yeah, he
Isn't he?
totally is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at Dogecoin, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Dogecoin.
I mean, it's at 7 cents now, which is it peaked at 7 cents today. I guess it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Is that just today? Okay, here's a follow-up clip, Kelvin, and this was a super fan.
My stock went up. My Dogecoin went up because you tweeted. You're amazing. Elon, how do you do it? The power of Elon Musk. You tweet and it goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dogecoin. I mean, the logo of Dogecoin. Dogecoin. Is this dog? Like, let's not. I'm gonna try and get a clear picture here. Like, it's this guy. Like the meme dog. You know what I mean? It started in 2013 as a joke to make fun of altcoins that were just coming out at speed. Right. At one point, anyone could come up with a cryptocurrency, and this was just making fun of that. Right. And Elon has got to be trolling, right? Like he can't possibly see dog coin as a possible fiat replacement.
That's probably a likely outcome given that Tesla just got into Bitcoin.
Yes.
Did they not?
So Twitter also started a new fund based on Bitcoin to help fund research into the space of blockchain and cryptocurrency. So I don't think cryptocurrency will go away, and I think there will be a space for them always, and we're just waiting for that killer use case.
Yes, been waiting for a long time.
It's not Dogecoin, okay? That is not going to be the killer use case. Elon just loves a good troll, okay? No one go buy Dogecoin, please. Or GameStop.
Dogecoin brothers. All right,
I never thought I'd end the show on Dogecoin, but there we go. That's episode 166 all wrapped up. If you like the show, let us know. If you didn't like the show, let us know. Please, come to the website. That's the nickatechpodcast.com to look at 165 other of our episodes. Tell us what you think. And you can also catch us on any of the social networks. So please get in touch. And that is Kelva.
Jeff out. Find us on Twitch and YouTube and possibly Clubhouse soon.
All right. I forgot to do, why I was stumbling at the end? I realized I forgot to do the Pentanet thing. Yeah, actually, I will now. So last week we spoke about NVIDIA's new gaming service, and we obviously mentioned Pentanet, who is an ISP based in Perth that is partnering with NVIDIA to launch the program. And kindly enough, they got in touch with us, just letting us know that they are, running the beta program. And I mentioned that, 5G could be a blocker for them launching, and I was most certainly wrong. So we're still waiting to hear from Pentanet about their program, launch dates, beta programs, and we would love to hear from them just to talk about it a bit more, because we think that gaming streaming services are going to be amazing, because I don't need to stare at my gaming PC to play games. I could use my MacBook, my iPad, my phone. And, we've got close gamer friends like Dan who have sold their gaming PC. Like, what the hell, Dan? So, I think it's going to be a shift. So get back to us, Team Pentanet. We'll be happy to talk about it a bit more.
And I think, to be fair, Kelvin, because I don't know if you were technically wrong, because I think the way you framed it was like, wasn't a blocker, but like it'll be obviously much better when 5G happens. But yes, we're happy to talk about that. So yeah, drop us a line. Or anyone for that
and
matter.
you know what? Now that's the end of the show and stuff. It's interesting how they found us, right? Because you tagged a WordPress post with Pentanet. It created a tag page, and then it got indexed by Google, and it got picked up as a Google alert, and that's how they found us, which I think is super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I tag Elon Musk all the time, but he doesn't reach out to
No, we need
me.
our own
So.
cryptocurrency. We need to have naked coins and call them naked coins or something, and tell them to tweet about us.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
All right. Thanks, Twitch. Thanks, YouTube. We are stopping the recording. Bye.